Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for this technical stuff. Welcome to this lecture. What I would like to start today's lecture with those writings as it's written. It reads, Bereshit itawo melto. In the beginning it was the word. And this is in the Assyrian language, Jesus Christ language. I used 3 different fonts. The scholars, sometimes they say like, oh, those are different languages, like the Serto or the Serb and the Mandai and the Strangilo. If you look carefully, they look more or less similar, the languages, because they are the same language but different dialects. Today we'll be talking about the Assyrian, the Aramaic words into the languages, the Western language or the European languages, mainly from Syria. And this is the natural border of Syria, which surrounded by natural borders. On the north we have the mountain Taurus, and the word Toro in the Assyrian language means mountain, and on the east the mountain Zagharos. In the Assyrian language the word Zagharot means the small one. So this is the small mountain and this is the big mountain. Those they were the natural border of Syria. And the scholars, when you look into this region, they call it Mesopotamia, or the natural Syria. And here we have the nations into this territory. And unfortunately, the scholars, they come and say, those are different nations. Elam, Shumir, Akkad, Assyria, Phoenician, but the whole distance is like 200 kilometers. So they are trying to make this part of the world looks like different nations into 200 kilometers without any natural borders, because it's straight land without any borders among them. So the Syrian or the Assyrian or the Aramaic language which was spoken in this part of the world, it's not only here, it moved with the people into. So we will talk today about the magic of the Aramaic language. And when anybody say the word magic, the first what that comes to your mind is Abracadabra. And few people know that the word Abracadabra is an Aramaic word, because Abara, it means say, express. Dabbara, create and make. So Abracadabra is like I create when I say, or being created when I said, or appeared when I said. So the people think that, oh, this is something like blah, 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 blah. Someone, no, it is not. This is one of the Assyrian Aramaic words remains in the languages of the world. So when you say Abracadabra, we are talking. So next time when you hear someone trying to do like some magical stuff and you say Abracadabra, okay, he's speaking some Aramaic words. Maybe Zoe himself, he doesn't know. That's one. The term Abracadabra also was used on the Emperor Caracalla, son of Septimus Severus, who was also from Syria, but also many people, they don't know that, because Septimus Severus is Assyrian from one of the Phoenician settlements in what today is Libya. So the Septimus Severus, his wife is Julia Dumna, of what today is Homs, center of Syria, and the 2 sons, Caracalla, his doctor, he was also from Homs, and he used to write this word like Abracadabra, but then he reduced the text, and he tells them, when the text will finish, every day one word will finish, so you will be healed. They didn't know that like the body will be like fighting the virus of the sickness, but they thought like magical stuff, and by magic it goes. So before we get into the words, into other words, everybody knows that the people, they start speaking, then writing, I mean, we teach the kids for like 2 years how to speak. Then we spend 50 years teaching them how to keep quiet and shut up. So, yeah. So the languages appeared before the writings. So, but in a time, people developed language to express what they want, what they mainly it was for the temples and the trading relationship. And they were writing like this, so they were holding the clay into the left hand and write with the right hand. And because of the position, they were writing left to right. And they used to have some like symbols reflecting the, like we have the jar, which means oil. We have this sign, which means the man brought in the flour as a gift, or like food or whatever. The circle, the small one, is 10. The line is like 1. So they developed some kind of writings, like syllables and writings, but this was not the only, the easiest way of expressing, but they managed to have like a way of communications. Here we have some of the signs used from the beginning. They start with like the star, which is God, light, man, woman. This is symbol for a man. This is woman, work, working woman. So it was like this. So everybody, when they see those syllables, they understand what's happening. Food, eat. Water, drink. And that's how they started the writings, and then it get developed into the other one, the cuneiforms, into Sumer or Sumerian. There were like writings on the temples, and they kept records for all those writings. One of the very first names they were seeing very frequently on all the like statues, those signs, and then they understood that those signs, they means Lu. They don't have the cuneiform installed here, right? So it's one. So this sign is Lu, Gal. So it means Lu, man, Gal, great. So the great man, or the king. But unfortunately, this computer doesn't have not installed the font. So I hope that the next pictures will appear. So they were seeing those writings top down, Lugal, which means the king, and it's attached to the names of the kings and the writings of the names. So this was very, very common. So here I put like one in Russian, so it's maybe for you it will be easier to understand. So here we have the sign of the man. It developed, become this sign, Lu. The Russian will read like Lu, but it's Lu. That's because the other people, they don't have the same, like it's only L, the letter. The Asol. So it's Anshu. And the word An, it's still in the French language, with the same meaning. So An remains till now for this one. This one is very important. It is Ha. And if I say something, try to repeat. It might sound like difficult for you, but to try to repeat so you'll understand for the next text, because it will be difficult for you. So it's like the word Ha when they start writing, like the Russians, they cannot say ha. So they say ha. And that's some of the problems when, like, a foreigner tries to speak the local language, they cannot pronounce it properly. So I will come to this one, you will see, I hope the text will appear. And this is the last symbol for the house. House in the old name is Beit. But in the Sumerian, it was E. And this went into the Turkish languages as Ev. In Kazakhstan, they say Uyi. Uyi means house. But in the Kildanian language, it is Beit only. So this sign become Beit, become the letter B. Yeah, unfortunately, those symbols are not there. The names, the two names, I want you to see how it developed. Maybe later on we'll show you on that computer when it's switched on. So the name of Sargon of Akkad, which ruled, who was the first ruler of the Imperia on 2200 BC. The old languages, they did not have the vowels. So they were writing the letters without vowels. So his name was written like Sarkin only. But because in the old language we have what we call it the movement of the letter, so every letter that has few movements, and by adding the vowels, the name becomes Sarokino. Kino in the old language means the fair. Sar, still up to now, also in Slavian language, is Tsar, as a king. So his name, Sarokin, was the fair king. And the writings, I hope we'll switch to the other one, it was signs of the name, like the fair, the man. But in 1800s, when the writings developed, so they stopped using the symbol by itself, but they were using the symbol, but they are pronouncing how this symbol is pronounced, and taking the pronunciation and forming the words out of it. So the name Hammurabi starts by Ha, the fish. So if you look to the name Hammurabi, how it's written like this: fish, name, hit, drink. But those words, they read like Ha-mu-ra-bi. So they used the pronunciation, they put the symbol, but used the pronunciation to keep it. And for the people to know that they are talking about a human, not a thing or animal, they add another symbol here. It's, the font is doesn't come. Yeah.
Does it mean human being?
It means human being. So if without that symbol, I hope when this computer will finish the updating, we can show you on the other computer. But on this one, we don't have the fonts, unfortunately, installed. Yeah. So this one of the writings. I mean, you understand that the size of this one is this much. It's very small. And that's what's written. I hope it's clear. Maybe you want to get closer. But it's read like this: Anti-Khosaru Rabi, or Rabu. So Antiochus, the great king. And the word Rab or Rabbi, that's the one the apostles or Jesus, they used to call him Rabbi, Rabbi, and they translate it as teacher, teacher. But it means the great man or the big man. And it's not only because he's big or great, no, it's like respect. In a time, the meaning of the word get diverted, and start means the teacher. But Rabbi, it means big or great. The second line here, it reads like this: the great king of Babylon, the king of the world, everywhere. So they used the word Sar, which means king. And I repeat, this word remains here. But because the kingdom expanded and covered the whole territory, in fact, they were ruling from what today is India to Egypt. That was under the same kingdom, but they were different, like nations speaking different language. So they had to create the first dictionary. So here we have like 3 languages dictionary. It's in Aramaic, Chaldean, and Sumerian. And we could see the difference, because to write a word or something in Sumerian language, you need to write it big. But when it comes to the Chaldean, they write like that to reduce. And some of the writing between the Aramaic and the Chaldean are close. But the people understood very fast that those writings, those method of writings, is very hard to understand, to save, because this size, it was like they need someone to put it on a table and work on it, because this is a big one. This is not the one you hold by your hand. This is like 40 by 40. It's big.
Is the kind of huge stone? Is the kind of huge stone?
They use the clays. They write while it's
Is it a stone?
It is not stone. It's like a special mud. They form it like a table. They write on it, then they put it into the oven to be fried, and it will remain forever. And one of the smart stuff for the contracts, they used to write the contract there, then you used to add another layer on top to save the contract, so nobody will know. Like with shipment, when you buy something, so you have it covered as a secret, and only by breaking the outer cover, you could read the text inside. So if someone brings like tables or whatever, and you see it's broken, they say, oh, that's fake. So the people, they were very, very high, like cautions about those old stuff. So this is maybe the first like encryption humanity did to have it cleaned like with other layer. So because the writings using the cuneiforms is too difficult, and it's too difficult to remember, because we're talking something like 700 different symbols, and when you start modifying them to meet the letters only, every like part of Syria, we speak different languages, not languages, dialects. Like I remember till now, a couple of months ago, some of my friends were talking about the frog. The frog in Syria, what today is Syria, we call it ضفدع. But in Iraq, they call it ضفدع. They use a different letter. Man, we call it rijal. In south of Iraq or near Saudi Arabia, they call it riyal. So it's a different letter. It's absolutely different letter. You think that it's a different language. So in the part of Syria, they decided to develop another writings, not to follow the same, though the cuneiforms still exist, still used, because after the Farsi Imperia occupied and finished the Assyrian kingdom in the year 500 BC, like 400 something BC, the Aramaic language, the cuneiform writings, become the lingua franca inside the Achaemenian Imperia. So the first they were writing using the writings they got from which is Assyria. So the west part of Syria, which is today Syria and Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, all that section which on the Mediterranean seaside, developed like a different writings, starting from almost the same syllables, modified step by step into the old Phoenician writings. Here we have the Phoenician writings. And with the Phoenician sailors, those alphabet get spread into the world and was modified into the Latin as we know it. I have it on different one. The Aramaic one we call the square Aramaic writings. The one is used by Israel and they consider as like the Hebrew, but it is the Aramaic alphabet, and here we have the Arabic. When the alphabet was developed, our ancestors, they created very smart approach. So they put one phrase including all the alphabet. And we use the word alphabet because it's taught by Abgad Hawas Hatti Kalaman Sahfas Qarashat. And that's how the letters are written. And when I say, maybe you did not notice the same. So Abgad Hawas Hatti Kalaman. You remember your alphabet? It is very similar because that was the standard.
Very, indeed. Very, very similar.
Very similar. So it's Abgad. Abgad is the first like 4 letters. And those letters, they had not only letters, they were also numbers. And that's how the numbers were developed, but I will not show you here. So, in what is Syria, we had 2 types of the alphabet developed. One is one on the top, which the Bible was written with those, what they call the strangilo. Strangilo, that's the Satara Injilo. It means wrote the Bible. Satara, it means put in a sequence, and we'll come later on to more meaning about this word Satara. Put in a sequence, put in a line. Injilo is the Angel, it means God save us. So that's the text of the Bible. But they kept the same pronunciations. Olaf base, which is Abgad, Hawas, Hatti, Kalaman, and what's the alphabet. But with the Phoenicians, the sailors, they developed another alphabet to be used with they're called like less developed nations they were in contact with. They were trading. I mean, if I come to trade with you, I don't need to teach you my belief in what God I believe, what the myth of my God or how they were created. Oh, I'm giving you like 5 packet of this one, taken from you 3 of this one called this one. So they developed very easy alphabet. And that was the alphabet went with the Phoenicians to the world. And those alphabet, it shows how it developed from the pro-Canaani, Canaan, that's the region of Syria. But again, the scholars, they always try to make it look like, oh, those are different nations, different people. No, they are the same, but we speak different language. Not different accent, different dialect, but the same language. And we will show you later on more. So that's how it develops from Abgad, Hawas, Hatti, Kalaman, Qarashat, to the end, the letters, the early and today's alphabet we use. This was like the biggest gift the Syrians gave to the world, which is the alphabet. So the people were able to write their idea. On this map, we have the Phoenician settlements, the big cities, and you can see this is the Mediterranean Sea, this is Syria, Lebanon, here now it's part in Turkey, but it was all Syria. And all those settlements, they are the cities created by the Phoenicians. If you look here, they reached here. They reached like west of what today is Portugal. They didn't reach here. They didn't reach here. So when the scholars, they try to push the influence of the Assyrian people, they say, oh yeah, they were in the south. This period was with the Greek civilization. Yeah, but I mean, how it comes that those cities, they were created by the Phoenicians. Like, have you been abroad? Have you been abroad? Did you travel somewhere? Did you travel somewhere?
A little bit.
Which countries? Which countries?
Brazil.
Okay, okay. There are some Turkish restaurants in Moscow, right? Have you seen any Turkish man opening a restaurant in Moscow and name it like Delhi? London? Have you been to London? Have you seen like a Russian guy called his restaurant in London, Mexico? No, absolutely not. Because if you go, like, if you go here to like in Moscow to a Turkish restaurant, to be like Turkey, Istanbul, Anadolu, something like that, the people, they give the names, they understand. Like if you go and open like now, we have this Sputnik. We didn't call it a Queen Elizabeth. We give it a name belongs to us. So the names which are inside the old cities, this is the hidden treasury for the people. And this is one of the things that we should try to understand and like diagnose, analyze, to get the real knowledge hidden inside those cities. Well, in fact, the Phoenicians, sailors, they reached England. There's a signs of England. And another place, I will show you at the end of this presentation. I hope it will be a surprise for you. But we looked at all those cities, all the settlements, because the Mediterranean Sea was like a Syrian lake, really. All the cities, all the names of those cities, they carry Syrian names. And only by giving them or taking them back to the original Aramaic, Assyrian original words, you will understand the meaning. And we will come to some of those